In this video, we'll talk about relation between fluid flow and analytic functions. So we will be considering planar flows. That means we'll be assuming that our fluid is flowing through XY plane. This is because when we'll be talking about functions defined on domain in complex plane, since it's a two-dimensional plane. So that's why we are restricting ourselves to planar flows. Another notation that we'll be using, I cap, j cap, k cap, these are going to be unit vector in x, y, and z direction respectively. With simple I without hat, we will be denoting square root of -1. So we are going to analyze fluid flow across a domain D in R2. And we'll be assuming that velocity field of fluid is given by capital F, which is Pxy I cap plus Qxy j cap. So at each point x comma y, this is going to give you a vector. That means this is going to give you a direction. So this will be a vector field. And we are assuming that it is steady state. So it means velocity at any given point depends on x and y. It does not depend on the time t. So we will be assuming that velocity is time independent. For a given velocity field capital F, its a complex representation will be given by small f. It will be pxy plus I times qxy. Magnitude of capital F or small f, this will be speed, because capital F and small f are velocities. We will further assume that our fluid flow is irrotational. That means curl of f is 0. That is net rotation in fluid particle, that is 0. And moreover, we'll be assuming that it is incompressible. That means its divergence is 0. So by an incompressible fluid, we mean its density is constant at each point in the domain. So it is homogeneous. Now, as a consequence of these two assumptions, that is curl of f is 0 and divergence of f is 0, we can obtain an interesting result. So here we are assuming that f is equals to pxyi plus qxy j. We will be making one more assumptions on p and q. So we'll assume that p, q, and their first order partial derivatives, they are continuous in domain D. So these are continuous in D. Now let's compute curl of f and see what happens when it is 0. So del cross f is going to be cross product. So gradient is del by del x, del by del y, del by del z, and f is p, q, and k component is 0. So to be precise in our notation, it has to be I cap, j cap, k cap. So when you take this cross product, you will get k cap multiplied by del q over del x minus del p over del y. And this is equals to 0 means del q over del x is equals to del p over del y. So if our fluid is irrotational, then this is what will happen. Similarly, if it is incompressible, then divergence of f is 0, and divergence of f is nothing but del p over del x plus del q over del y. This is equals to 0, and which gives us del p over del x equals to minus del q over del y. So now if you look at these two equations, these are similar to Cauchy-Riemann equations, but these are not CR equations for the function small f, which is p plus qi. In fact, these are CR equations corresponding to a function g, which is conjugate of f. So if f is p plus qi, its conjugate will be p minus qi. So if you consider this as a real part, this as imaginary part, so along with minus sign, that is imaginary part. So first CR equation, that is del u over del x, this should be equals to del v over del y. Since u is p, so you get del p over del x is equals to V is minus Q, so del Q over del Y. This is nothing but the second equation, and similarly, second CR equation del U over del Y will be minus del V over del X. U is P, so del P over del Y, and V is minus Q, so del Q over del X. So this means that if our fluid is irrotational and incompressible, that means curl is 0 and divergence is 0. That means G satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equations. And we have already assumed that P, Q and their first order derivatives are continuous. So that means the function G, which is conjugate of F, it is analytic. So since P, Q, Px, Py, Qx, Qy, these are continuous in D, and we already saw that G satisfies CR equations. That means Gz is analytic in D. So that means what we have proved is, if we have velocity field Pi cap plus Qj cap, then its complex representation will be P plus Qi. Then P plus Qi that we are denoting by small f may not be analytic, but Fz conjugate, which is P minus Qi, this is an analytic function. So velocity field of irrotational and incompressible flow gives you an analytic function. So this is the precise statement of the theorem. If we are given a velocity field capital F, which is incompressible and irrotational, and if small f is the complex representation of capital F, then conjugate of small f is an analytic function in the given domain D. So we have already proved it. Now, next question that arises here is whether the converse is true or not. So that means, given an analytic function, can we find out some velocity field of a flow which is irrotational as well as incompressible? Answer to this question is again yes. So if we have an analytic function G, then consider its conjugate, and we are denoting that by F. Its conjugate will be U minus IV. Now, corresponding to complex function F, which is U minus IV, there will be a velocity field which will be given by Ui cap minus Vj cap. And we can prove that if G is analytic, then this velocity field is incompressible. That means its divergence is 0. And it is irrotational. That means its curl is 0. Proof is not difficult here. So we are given that G is analytic. So let us just write down the consequence. Since G is analytic, this will imply that real and imaginary part of G are going to satisfy CR equations. So CR equations for G will be del U over del X should be equals to del V over del Y. And second equation will be del U over del Y equals to minus del V over del X. So these two equations will be satisfied. Now we want to show that divergence of F and curl of F is 0, where F is given by Ui cap minus Vj cap. So let's compute divergence of F first. So if this is our F, then divergence is going to be del U over del X minus del V over del Y, which is 0 from this equation. And similarly, if you compute curl of F, then we have to compute cross product of gradient, that is del over del X, del over del Y, del over del Z, and then F is the U minus V and 0. So when you compute this cross product, there should be a cap over here. Then it will be minus del V over del X minus del U over del Y. So from this equation, you see that this quantity will be 0. So if G is analytic, then F given by Ui cap minus Vj cap, that is velocity field of an irrotational and incompressible flow. So this is how from every analytic function you can get a velocity field which represents an irrotational and incompressible fluid. And similarly, from velocity field of incompressible and irrotational fluid, you can get an analytic function. Let's look at a couple of examples. So let's say F is the vector field given by this here, where k is a positive constant, and this denotes velocity vector field for ideal fluid, and by ideal fluid we mean incompressible and irrotational. So that's what we mean by ideal fluid. So we can see that this F is defined in a domain which does not contain point x0 comma y0, because at x equals to x0 and y equals to y0 you cannot define a capital F. And you can easily see that these two conditions are satisfied. That means it is an ideal fluid. So this is an exercise for you. You can work this out. Now, if you want complex representation of capital F, that is going to be nothing but a complex function with this as real part and this as imaginary part. So let us write down the corresponding complex function. That is going to be real part and plus imaginary part. Let us further manipulate it. Let's multiply and divide by I. So when we divide by I, we get I here. When you multiply I in this, you get I square, and you have a minus sign, so it becomes plus. So you have first term here, x minus x0 divided by the denominator. And I gets multiplied here, so you get I times y minus y0, and then the denominator. Now if we fix this notation, z equals to x plus iy and z naught equals to x naught plus iy naught. And if you look at the numerator here, it is x minus x naught plus I times y minus y naught. That is nothing but z minus z naught. So in the numerator, we have z minus z naught. Our denominator is nothing but modulus of z minus z naught square. So modulus of z minus z naught would be x minus x naught square plus y minus y naught square and then a square root. So this is denominator. Now further, you know a property. For a given complex number z, mod of z square is z multiplied by z bar. So denominator can be written as z minus z naught and its conjugate. So z minus z naught gets cancelled, and this is what you get. So this is complex representation of the given vector field capital F, and we are denoting this by small f. So the corresponding analytic function will be its conjugate. So when you take f conjugate, this is the function that you obtain. So for the given vector field, this is the function which will be analytic, and it will be analytic in any domain which does not contain point x0 comma y0. So we started with a vector field and we found out an analytic function. We can go in reverse manner as well. So that is what the next example is. So in the next example, we start with an analytic function. So let us say that function is k multiplied by z. Since z is entire, you multiply it by a constant, it is going to remain an entire function. It is a polynomial. So this function is analytic. Now we want to find out vector field which represents a fluid flow where fluid is incompressible as well as irrotational. That means fluid is ideal. So the corresponding conjugate will be kx minus iy, and corresponding to this complex representation, the vector field will be kx I cap minus ky j cap. So this is the velocity field for an ideal fluid. I'll stop with this. Thank you very much for watching.